to our podcast, Little Podcasts and Big Conversations. We are so excited to bring you our guest today. Chemmy Alcott has represented Great Britain 4 times at the Olympics. She is also the co-host on BBC Ski Sunday, so I'm sure you've seen her on the telly. We've got a great conversation lined up today, really talking about high performance, making sure that you're operating at 100%, not just 80%, and also how you can really learn from failure. You never fail, you either win or you learn. Let's get into it. Hello, Chemmy.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being on our podcast. We are so excited to have you here.
Yeah.
So 4 Olympics. Mm-hmm. Wow.
That just makes me sound really old, I think. Because 4 times 4 is 16, and obviously you've got to do some work before the first one. So that's like 20 years of my life, which feels like another life now. You know, that was then. I mean, I've still got like breakages left, right and centre.
Oh, God,
this is my, should I hold it up so the camera can see?
Yeah.
So I call this Nick Faldo, actually. And I've got nothing against Nick Faldo, but when I did break my leg, everyone just kept asking me about negative things, like, oh, how's your broken leg? How's your pain?
Yeah.
And I kept thinking, I'm trying to get over this. How can we do this in a more positive way? So I'm going to personalise it. And it used to look like a golf ball when it was swollen on my shin. And the only golfer I knew was Nick Faldo. So I named it Nick Faldo. And now I've met Nick a few times. And he's like, oh, you're that weird skier whose leg's called Nick Faldo. And I'm like, yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, so all of that feels so long ago, that Olympics. But it still defines you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Your past is something that you can choose to give you strength now.
Yeah.
And I do. It's quite nice to still hear it, so thank you.
Well, congratulations. It's amazing. Tell us where it all started. Like, so where did you get that inner, you want to be Olympian? Yeah, where did it all come from?
It's quite strange, isn't it, living in London? I'm going to be a downhill ski racer. So I guess I was kind of born and bred into this life. My dad was a rugby player. My mum was a swimmer. I always say I got his glutes and her lungs, and out pops this mountain goat. But I was the youngest of a big family, and by the time I was born, my eldest brothers had been talent ID'd by French ski school. And so the French ski school were like, all those boys are good, they should get into racing. And you always think your older siblings are cool. And I wanted to do what they were doing. And I started at 18 months. So I'm born in July. On my second Christmas, I was already skiing. And it was that freedom, it was that passion. Everything came back to passion. I love skiing. I still do. And I think that's why I've been able to have such a long career in it, because a lot of athletes fall in love with their sports, then their sport becomes their career and they fall out of love and then they have to retire and lose their identity. But I've had this thread my whole life from 18 months old, which is incredible to still be living that.
Yeah. Do you think that your parents being in sport impacted that? Yeah, it did.
And they were pushy.
Yeah.
I am a pushy parent now because I think to get the best out of children who don't understand that hard work and effort equates success, because all they see in the world is gold medal equals success. Well, if I'm not going to get that gold medal, should I put in the effort? So actually, I think pressure from parents in a positive way can really define someone's love and passion for sport, for creativity, for whatever your hobby is. And they were pushy, but they also let me fly. At 10 years old, I remember I used to ski at a dry ski slope in Sandown. I still coach there every Thursday. It's 8 seconds long, and it holds a big place in my heart, even though you're skiing on upturned hairbrushes, not really the mountains. Yeah. But I remember leaving a training session there, and I was taking my boots off at 10, and I saw, this is before the internet, because I'm quite old, they had this advert with the rip-off telephone numbers at the bottom, and this advert was for a summer, your whole summer, to go down to New Zealand to ski on snow. And I was like, this is a bit of me. Like, this is it. So I pulled it off. And I remember I sat on the kitchen counter and I had the corded phone. And I called this guy in Scotland, and for 2 hours, like, chewed his ear off and asked him question after question. And at the end, he said, right, okay, before I speak to your parents, is there anything else I need to know about you? And I said, yes. You know, your camp said you have to be a teenager. I'm 10. And this guy's like, oh, my God, I've just wasted 2 hours speaking to this incredibly determined 10-year-old.
Yeah.
And I said, well, will you give me a chance? He's like, right, talk to your parents. And that evening I said to my mum and dad and all my brothers, I'd like to go to New Zealand this summer. Here's all the facts about it. And I'd written everything down. And my mum was like, well, this is a big family sacrifice. And I said, no, you don't have to go. So I went alone to New Zealand at 10. No mobile phone. I had a phone card. I walked down to the phone box at 8 p.m. on a Tuesday, called home for 10 minutes, went back, and I had the best summer ever. And I cannot believe that I was allowed to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like bad parenting, but that's who I was. I was obsessed. I had blinkers on. I knew what I wanted quite early on in life. And so they facilitated that. But I think a lot of people judged my parents for that.
Mm-hmm. Because they were pushy.
Well, your daughter's going. I mean, I cried on the way home. Yeah. Like I had the best summer ever.
10 years old is nothing, really.
Yeah. But I cried coming home. I didn't want to come home.
You loved it so much.
I was like, I'd found my people and my place.
Where does that confidence come from then at that age?
I think because I was the youngest and the only girl. So it was kind of like fight for your right to be here.
Okay.
Very loud household, full of passion growing up. I had to very early on in life define myself as being different to have my place in the family, because everyone was very talented. And I was like, right, what have I got? And I was like, okay, I love skiing. I'm good at it. This is gonna be it. I'm gonna excel, and that will differentiate me from my brothers, and I will be able to hold my place in this successful family.
It's so interesting, I think, when it comes to children. That pressure that you talk about, it's so hard to get the balance. I've got a boy and a girl. Yeah. They were both in sports when they were younger, but it's just fizzled out. Yeah. And I kind of wonder why that is, right? And it will be interesting to hear from you, actually, Chemmy, around kind of the differences also between boys and girls, because I feel like girls drop out of sports quite young compared to boys, but I might be wrong, because you coach all the time, don't you?
I mean, society gets it wrong with sport, especially at school. They celebrate medals, they celebrate victories, they don't celebrate effort. So we absolutely lose all the values that sport can bring our lives, which is why I love going to schools. And sometimes I'll get introduced as Olympic gold medalist, and I'll have to go and say, no, I didn't win any medal. And they're like, yeah, but we heard of you. I'm like, yeah, because I've worked really hard at my brand to talk about how sport brings so much more values in terms of personal growth than winning. And I think, and I've worked with a lot of schools that have got it wrong. I remember when my son was 5, I offered to do running club at school. Now I can't run at all, but in the off season, I have got every wobble board, every ladder going. So I thought I'll bring it into school and I can do this, and it can be really fun. And on the last episode we did, and I'd had 50% girls, 50% boys, 5 years old. They were like, Chemmy, we want you to do a bleep test. And I was like, no, why? Why do I need to do a bleep test at this infant school? I'm like, oh, because we've got the facilities, you should do it, and we always do it. And I was like, okay, I don't believe that we'll get the outcome that you want from this, but I will do it. And we did it. And I have trained these girls up and boys, and they are all fierce and strong, and they always push themselves until it became a dictated environment. And the girls, after 2 laps, completely in their comfort zone, all stopped. And so I stopped the bleep test. And I was like, what's happening here? You girls, you're not at your limit. They're like, there's no point. Isaac's going to win. He's really good. He's going to win. And I was like, it's not about him. This is about you doing your best. Anyway, I persuaded them to keep going. And they didn't push themselves to the limit. I'd seen that week on, week out. And these are 5-year-old girls. Yet the boys, we had a group of about 10 boys who were absolutely spent, like sweating on the ground. And yes, Isaac completed the bleep test. And the school came out and they celebrated him. And I said, I think you've got this wrong. I don't think you celebrate him. He hasn't actually pushed himself out of his comfort zone. These boys here, who you think have failed because they haven't won, they have gone completely to their limit. So we need to celebrate them, because that is what sport can do. It can show you your effort, and everything you put in, your 100% is good enough. Yeah. And so I talked to the school about changing the narrative around sport and that. And then I ended up writing, I'm sorry, I've totally gone off piece straight away.
Great. It's great.
I ended up writing a children's book because of it.
Oh, okay.
To normalise fear in young kids, because these girls have this fear of judgment. And it's called Turning Belly Butterflies into Dragon Wings. So talking about how feeling fear is something that we should harness, we should look for, we should befriend and use it to be the best version of ourselves. Because without that, we're at 80%. And I did a lot of 80% in my skiing career, and it's an incredibly unsatisfactory way to live. And I didn't get hurt when I was going 80% my whole ski career, but I wasn't going on my limit. And so my big thing now is to teach children to find their limit, to go on their limit, sometimes to pass it, to fall over. And I've made wrong decisions. My two sons, I used to bribe them to fall on the ski slopes because I was like, right, we're going to find your limit from the get-go. So if they fell over, they got 1 Haribo. But if they fell over and lost both skis, they got 2 Haribo. Now, this ended up being really dangerous on the slopes because any time my sons were falling, they'd try and make it into this biggest crash ever. And I was like, right, okay, I have made. They've got no skill, these boys of mine, but they've got loads of confidence, which is quite dangerous on the mountain. So I reined that back in, but it's still something that I'm very passionate about, especially for young girls, teaching them to find their limit, to go to their limit. There are a lot of complexities with girls in sport around going through puberty, around sweating, around boobs bouncing in front of the boys. And these are all things that they think they notice. But we did quite a lot of work in co-ed schools. And all the boys respect the girls that go to their limit. And there was big lack of communication between the genders where they thought they were being judged for being good and, being athletic and having muscles. Whereas the boys were like, that's the girl I want to be friends with.
Yeah.
And it's about opening up that communication because we have got to quite a dire bit where girls think they can't go to their limit because if they fail, then life's over.
Yeah.
Whereas actually if they fail, that's when they're going to learn. So,
yeah.
I mean, that's a really long answer for you.
No, I mean, it's all about changing the narrative.
Yeah, changing the narrative.
Because, when girls and women, do go to their limits, they're often called something, right? They're often career obsessed or aggressive. I get career obsessed all the time. I know Sophie does sometimes as well. And it's ridiculous.
Totally.
You don't say that to a man.
Totally. And I mentor young athletes, and no successful young female athlete will say to me, I want to win. Because they think that they'll be judged as arrogant. I mentor young boys who are so far away from winning, but they're like, I'm going to win. And all their mates are like, yeah, it's not arrogance. They celebrate that as confidence. And I'm like, well, why don't we do that with young girls? And I was very vocal going out there saying I want to win. And I'm the same now. Like I play paddle all the time and I play with a lot of men and all the men call my way of playing aggressive. And I sat them down after a long time because I was like, you're saying this in a demeaning term. Like you're trying to be negative by telling me I'm aggressive. I said, out of interest, if I was a bloke and I played this way, what would you say? And they would say, we would say that you're talented and strong. And I was like, why are you putting aggressive on me because I'm a woman? Because you expect me to be meek and not hit the ball as hard as I can at you at the net. And so it's something that I've really, and actually the elder generation of men that I play paddle with, they have learnt and they change their narrative. So we need to call people up on this because it's not that they don't want to understand. There's just, I think women, we allow it to happen sometimes. It's like, no, stand there and say, I want to win. I'm a confident woman. I want to be CEO. Like, shoot for the stars. What's the worst that can happen? And the women that are jealous of you, they're not the women you need in your life. Like, my mum did a degree in women's liberation and feminism, and she taught me to go into a room and find the woman you're inspired by and make her your friend. So I've never had that jealousy. Like meeting you guys, you're so incredibly talented. My opportunity to come here today to learn from you and be around your energy means that I would never say no to this. But I think some women feel threatened by other successful women, and we've got to get away from that. We've done it in sport. Women's sport at elite level in the UK is, so empowering. It's so inspiring. And I think we need to filter that down to everywhere.
Completely agree on so many levels there. There's still so much education to be done on this, and I think also like allowing people to find their own confidence to do that as well, and then we've talked in previous episodes around finding your tribe, and whether that is a tribe of other females that are supporting you or other men supporting you, but that is so important, isn't it, to allow you to really like flourish and grow.
And your uniqueness as well, because there's some people think they need to fit a mold to be successful or look a certain way or do this, and I don't know if you watched the Olympics this year, but I don't fit a mould on TV because I'm a bit out there, a bit quirky. I'll do whatever I feel like doing. And I think that makes it so much more of an authentic experience to watch because people don't know what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
And I think we've all got that. We've all got that uniqueness. And I have the confidence to back it because I had my mum in my corner who was incredible. But I think, we all need that tribe. I love the word tribe. I think it's great.
It's so empowering, isn't it, to know you've got that tribe.
My sons are in my tribe now.
Amazing.
Like, they back me up. Like, they go around talking about how amazing it is that my mum's bought our house. I mean, that's an absolute lie, but they're the opposite of the other generation. And it's just amazing to have that.
Yeah. When you were, going through all the Olympics, did you really feel that divide between men's sport and women's sport? And did you feel that in skiing? And I guess, you did 4 Olympics. So how did that change as well?
I think actually skiing is a really good sport for women to excel at. We are celebrated to take risks, and there's not many young females who are. I used being a woman completely to my advantage. I mean, if you Google articles from when I was 16, 17, it called me the cornucopia of skiing. And I was a massive tomboy and I hated it. But I used it. Like, I got campaigns. Those campaigns got me money. That money went into my skiing. I became better. But it was a weird kind of time to be alive. So my agents owned my look. I had to go to a certain hairdresser. I had to have long blonde hair. Like, they were marketing me as a certain way, which wasn't exactly who I was back then. Ironically, I've done a massive full turn in life and I love celebrating everything about being a woman and I love putting makeup on now, but that wasn't who I was back then. But I did it because I was ticking a box for them commercially. So I used being a woman to my advantage. But in terms of equality, no, I think it was always kind of a level playing field. Skiing's really good for that.
Talk to us about, going for the limits, and reaching your limit, because you talk about 80% and 100%, and a lot of people just strive for 80% and kind of,
It's an easier way to live.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it's a better way.
And so, because you said in the intro that actually you did 80% at one point. So talk to us about why and why people might do 80% and the limits of that, and kind of not reaching your potential.
So I had an incredibly privileged upbringing. I had an amazing amount of support from my family and from sponsors. But with that, I got a lot of attention. And I was in this system where I was one of Sir Clive Woodward's prodigy, and I had so many coaches helping me out. I mean, at one time I had a circus trainer to help me differentiate my lower body control to my upper body. I mean, really wild stuff. But the bigger my team got, the more pressure I felt to perform. And I felt like I lost control of the freedom to ski fast. And so for 8 years of my life where I had the potential to win races, I chose not to go to 100%. Because I had such a big fear of failure that if I skied 100% and didn't win, I'd have to admit to myself and all of these people in this massive circle who were investing in me that I wasn't good enough. So instead I found it was like this dangerous, vicious circle of choosing to be 80%. Because I kept 20% in my back pocket to validate why I wasn't winning. So I'd come down and I was the best in Britain. I was 20th in the world. But it was a very unsatisfactory existence because every day I knew I wasn't going to my limit. And in training, I could do it. And I was very fast. So everyone started saying, oh, she's choking in races, which is the worst word in the world. I think in a sport like skiing, where it's a fraction of a second between glory and nothing at all, you can have all this external help, but you've got to find the confidence within you to make that marginal gain at the very, very top, fractions of a second. And it took till 2008, and there's a race called Solden. It's a World Cup on a glacier, very, very challenging race. Men and women race the same track. It's one of the only situations that happens, and it's very steep. And by this point, I was ranked 20th in the world, and I made a mistake on the first run, and I came 31st. And you don't get a second run unless you're top 30. And I remember the team coming down and getting in the car, and everyone was silent because I'd let all of these grown men down because I'd been fast all training and I hadn't been able to execute it. And then someone was disqualified and I was back in the race and we U-turned up and I did the second run. But as I was standing in that start gate on the second run, I was so ill prepared that I thought, you know what, this is the run to just fly. This is it. No expectation, no pressure, nothing good could happen right now. And I had technically probably the worst run in my career. Like I did the whole of the steep on my inside leg. It's not fast, it's not pretty, but I won that run and I became the first British ski racer to win a run in World Cup. And that was the first time as an adult I had the confidence to go 100%. And the best thing was that it was good enough. It was there. And I remember I celebrated so hard. And all of these guys in my team were like, yeah, we knew you could do that. And then they realised, oh, you didn't know you could do that. And I was like, no, I didn't know I could be the best. Like, I didn't have it in me to go 100% because I thought it might not be good enough. So then, you know, unfortunately in ski racing, because it's very dangerous, there's a fine line between success and complete disaster. And then 2 months afterwards, I broke my ankle, and then I broke a lot in the next few years. But I am proud of every time I broke myself, because every time I did that, I had the confidence to be the best that I could be. And that's an outcome of life. And I learnt more from every injury I had than any gold medal I won. So that's my big premise, is to get out there and tell people that if I can go 92 miles an hour and go 100%, then in your daily lives, you guys can find your 100%. And those mistakes that you will make, guaranteed you'll make. But when you pull yourself out of those lows, those are the moments of huge personal growth in life that you can realise how great you really are.
Yeah.
When you're coasting at 80%.
We have a real problem, don't we, with failure?
Yeah.
that whole narrative around.
It.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Need to reframe it in our own head.
It's such a dirty word, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're a failure, you fail. Like, you only fail if you've had the confidence to do something out your comfort zone. You're putting yourself out there to either be incredible or to make a mistake and fail. Yeah. And that's okay. I mean, I celebrate that all the time. And even my son, my big motto in life is I never lose. Either I win or I learn. And my son started ski racing last year, massive target on his back because everyone knows who he is. My husband's a former ski racer as well. And the first race he did, he fell. And I was at the start. You know, I can see him down there. I was like, I'm running down the slope to get to him, thinking my poor son would be broken. And I get down and he's positive, but he's not like crying. And he said, so mummy, I guess this is me learning. And I was just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Because
my job is done.
Yes. And then he now does that to other kids who he races against. And I'm just like, that is for me, parenting tick.
Do you notice the difference with your son's friends? You know, because you're obviously giving the Haribos every time they fell. They kind of learnt failure really early on, right?
My sons get invited over to play dates to get their other kids out of their comfort zone. And my friends will tell me that. They will say, right, we haven't done anything challenging for a while. We're at this situation where little Jimmy is struggling with control and with pressure. Can Lockie come over and do some crazy stuff and fall over and get back up? You know, we get that. And that is amazing to be able to tap into your own community, your own tribe with that, because that's what I learned as a career as a downhill ski racer. So to bring that into personal life now for people I care about is amazing to have that opportunity.
Yeah, it's so rewarding, isn't it?
Yeah,
to do that. That's like the special and bring out your uniqueness and then sharing that with your sons and them spreading that. That's incredible.
Lovely.
When you had gone through that journey and you got to 100%, and congratulations, that's amazing in terms of the wins. Did you then mentioned you had 2 months later you then had injuries and falls and things. How did you keep that going at 100%?
When you're hurt.
Because that's hard, isn't it?
It is really hard. But that comes back to the first thing I talked about at the beginning. And the only reason I ski is because I love it and the passion. So anytime I was hurt, that was me being taken away from the thing that gives me, not now because I've got a family, I can't say this really, but the most happiness in the world. So it was a block, it was a hurdle, but it was something I was going to overcome. And actually I found, physically, coming back from injury is very easy. You're in a wheelchair, and then a couple of months later you're on crutches, and then you're walking, and you have all of these miniature daily goals that you achieve. And it took me a long time to think about mental healing. And I didn't at all for a lot of my first injuries. And I remember strapping into my skis, clicking down, and my brain just going, last time we did this, you got hurt big time. And I hadn't put any thought or healing into my brain, because back then we didn't do that. Like the sport is great right now because people talk about mental health a lot. When I was younger, no, you just needed to get on and do it. There was no softness in what we did, in how we came back from things. And that's something that I really try and work on with people, and reframing where your brain's going, because you do travel very quickly to bad memories in our head. But if you can, I do loads of visualization. So every time I crashed, I could remember that crash, but I would change the pathway and I would finish the run and I would feel happiness at the end of the run. And I would visualize that so much that when I came back to the sport, that pathway was stronger than leading to the actual reality that was me getting hurt. And I think we don't, I guess I'm playing trickery with my brain or changing the neuro pathways, but in a very positive way, in a way that allows me to get back to doing what I love.
Yeah, because I suppose when you're in pain, it's very easy to think, gosh, do I need to do this again?
Yeah. But that's why I loved childbirth. Yeah. Sorry, going real out there.
Yeah.
Childbirth pain for me was like, I mean, this sounds really weird, but I was like, this is great. Because every other time I felt pain like that, I mean, I was hurt. I was down and out. My legs, my bones were broken outside my ski boot. There was blood everywhere. But that one, I was like, I'm getting a baby at the end of this.
Yeah. I
was like, this is great pain.
Nothing.
No, the pain was worse. But at the end of it, I was going to have a happy thing instead of all right, 2 years you can ski again.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, how many times have you broken bones? How many? Because it sounds like a lot.
Well, I Google it, and when people introduce me, they Google it. And I think Sky did a feature on my injuries, and they said I'd broken 49 bones.
Wow. But
a lot of them were I've shattered a lot of bones in like multiple pieces. But yeah, no, I've been hurt a lot, and my neck's fused together, and my leg I've got a metalwork down the bone marrow of my right leg. Lots of exciting scars and stories to tell about that. But they are moments where I went on my limit, and I'm really proud of that. Like, I couldn't sit here today and live this story of, finding that fear and going there anyway if I hadn't done it myself. And I feel like I've got enough evidence of that internally with all my injuries to say, look, I'm still here, I'm still going, charging.
Yeah. Your spirit and your passion shine through so much.
No, but listen, I have that because I'm so grateful to this. Like, I cannot believe I am living the life that I live now. Like, it was amazing going to 4 Olympics, but I really dreamt of winning a gold medal. And I didn't do that. But my other dream in life from when I was 5 years old was to present Ski Sunday. So to not achieve your first dream, but to redefine yourself. And I'm presenting Ski Sunday now. I've done 5 years, getting to work on TV, working with brands. I can't believe that I can do this when I didn't win the Olympics. And that, for me, makes me so grateful for life, and very lucky, very lucky.
You have this amazing ability to pivot, I think, and reassess, reset, and pivot your direction. Talk to us about some of the charity work that you do, because you're an ambassador, and I really get the feeling that you want to give back and change the narrative and perceptions and really help the next generation,
So I've got 2 main charities that I work with. I've been working with Right to Play since 2008, and I've been on their board for a long time as well. And that was really important for me as a participating athlete to see the values that sport brings countries that really, really need pivoting, they need opportunity, they need hope. And we climbed Kilimanjaro the first time that I started working with them, and we raised, I think, $40,000 and went and saw these projects and these orphans. And they were so happy. I mean, I have this recurring image of that first day that we were at this orphanage, and there were these kids. The school was barriered, and they were trying to break into the school to learn. And I was like, oh my gosh, in the UK, people hate school. They're trying to bunk off all the time. And here, these kids are so hungry for this opportunity to learn. I was like, right, we need to. And I remember this one boy had his jeans on backwards, and he just had the biggest smile, and he was standing the other side of the barrier. And I'm like, we have to bring these kids in. But I didn't understand the politics of who was allowed in or not. And that's when I was like, right. I came home from that trip and I was like, I'm going to quit skiing. I'm going to work for Right to Play. And they were like, no, Chemmy, you could have bigger footprint for us, a bigger voice if you actually keep going. And that has been amazing for me, like seeing the value that sport can change around the world. Globally, there are 2 million children at Right to Play programs who use sport for survival, and that's what it is. And their female young women programs are amazing. And then the other charity that I've been a patron for a long time is Snow Camp. Now, my big thing is that skiing, I want it to be inclusive. And I know there's a lot of barriers why skiing can't be inclusive, but it's an amazing sport because it's a real leveller. It's hard when you're learning. It's hard when you're a pro. You fall over when you're learning. You fall over when you're great. You have to learn resilience straight off the bat. You have to be confident in yourself. You have to know that there are going to be hurdles. And, it's so synonymous with life. But there's a lot of financial burdens that go with being a skier. And I was very lucky to have the privilege to have my parents supporting me. But on the other side, I want it to be accessible to more. And in the UK, we have so many facilities. We've got snow domes, we've got dry ski slopes, like I was talking about earlier, that we want to try and bring it to the masses. And then I heard about Snow Camp, and they use snow sports to take inner city children out of dire situations and give them hope using our industry, which has understandably a bad rep, but it's unbelievable. So they take these kids from gangs, opposing gangs, and they teach them to ski and snowboard side by side next to these guys who, out of that environment, could never coexist. And then they give them this opportunity to learn a sport that they'd never heard about, to challenge themselves, because it is really hard, and then to have a career in it. And I mean, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it.
I love it, honestly.
We just had a fundraiser the other day, and one of the hardest gigs is this fundraiser. It's out in Valta, and it's so much fun. But all the young apprentices, 3 come and talk, and their background is just, I mean, every hardship, horrific thing that could have happened has happened to these 3 young, amazing people. And I'd hung out with them for 3 days and interviewed them and helped them on zip wires across mountains and hadn't felt any of this negativity towards their past life.
Yeah.
And then you hear them speak, and then I have to get up and speak afterwards, and I'm just crying.
Yeah.
And I'm like, right, I'm just going to, I'm learning to cry. There's a lot of crying in my life this year on television, and it's only resulted in good things. And I was like, right, I'm going to stand up here and show you what this means to me, because I want to make this sport inclusive to everyone. My story is the exact background of people who are privileged, who you think should be in this sport. So I can't talk about it that way, because I want to change the future of what we can do with skiing and snowboarding, and allowing it to change young people's lives at that grassroots level. Yeah. And that's what Snow Camp just does so brilliantly and beautifully. And
amazing. So much of that resonates with me, because, I mean, I climbed the Great Wall of China about 20 years ago to raise money for Plan International to rebuild a school in India that was destroyed by the tsunami, where girls just couldn't go, right? They couldn't be, it was destroyed completely. And for me, that education piece, like you talked about, these kids just want to learn, right? Yeah. We take that for granted, don't we? And, just to make that difference is so important. And again, like you say, working with children from different backgrounds and actually improving the accessibility to these things. I mean, I've got an Indian background. We just never thought about skiing at all. It was just not a thing, and to this day, I haven't ever skied. I might try it one day, Chemmy. I might try it.
Go to the snow dome. And I mean, that's one of the things I'm most proud of. I've done amazing things in life, but the first time I presented Ski Sunday, Ed Lee, who's my amazing co-presenter, the titles for the show used to be The Boys Jumping Out of a Helicopter, and it was like gnarly and crazy. And that first season, I was like, look, I think people watch that and go, that could never be me. That's crazy. Okay, it's not inspirational. It's just out there. And I was like, Ed, what we should do, if we want this show to grow, is to make people feel like they're part of it and included, and that the mountain is for everyone, because the mountain is for everyone. And at the end of that season, we refilmed the titles, and we had a sit skier in it. We had this unbelievably Swiss family who came from the Caribbean, and they were like, oh my God, we can't believe you want us in this. We've loved snow sport forever, but we can't see ourselves on the mountain. I'm like, right, okay. And we didn't make it about us. We made it about what the mountains can offer and how they can include everyone. It doesn't matter where you come from. If you ever thought it'd be becoming your background, it can be there for you if you want it. Yeah. And it's an amazing place to discover yourself, to have that freedom, and, to learn resilience. And so, I want to ski with you now.
Yeah.
Right, let's do it.
Let's do it. Yeah. Ski trip, definitely. But it's so true, isn't it? Representation really matters.
Really.
And I started golf about 3-4 years ago, and they had a Get Into Golf campaign for women. And those sorts of initiatives are really important in terms of accessibility, right? Because I would never think about golf at all. I thought, I'll try it. It's just around the corner. Yeah. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. And I've heard you talking on other podcasts around your two boys, and, you know, one kind of goes straight into, you know, has no fear, just goes straight into, one's a little bit apprehensive. I'm the apprehensive one, right? Not sure whether golf's really for me. Let me try it. But then I love it, right? Just like,
if you hadn't done that day. And actually we're seeing an incredible success in women's sport in the UK right now, and it goes back to, I think, almost 15 years ago, the This Girl Can campaign.
Oh yeah.
If you think where we are now with women's sport, it started back then with someone taking confidence, going, real women sweat, real women have cellulite, their boobs bounce, and that made us all go, oh, I can do that then. I can wear shorts. Like, it took me years to wear shorts and I'm confident in my body. But I saw that campaign. I'm like, let's do it. I think everyone needs that opportunity to see themselves and have a try and dip your... And we are in this amazing world right now, especially for young women, where sports when I grew up were netball, tennis, hockey. There's all this creativity now. There's dance, there's yoga, there's meditation. There's so many different sports out there that we need to try them all to find our place. And it doesn't have to be, and it shouldn't be at elite level. It should be something that you want to go back to, because again, you find your other tribe. You know, you've got your build me up tribe, and then you've maybe got your competition sport tribe or your holistic tribe. And I'm so happy that you found yours in golf.
Yeah. No, love it. Yeah.
What role do you think big brands have to play in helping women in particular really feel confident in trying new sports and things? Because you mentioned you work with lots of different brands. I mean, we both work in retail brands, but what role do you think they have to play? And I guess I'd also ask, do you think what's happening now is good enough, or is there more?
No, I think we've got a long way to go. I think global exposure occasionally for women's sport is incredible. Like the Winter Olympics, if I look back to it, all the big stories were global female stories about icons delivering or failing and crashing. And that was an amazing opportunity. But what you need from that is the spin-off, the brands coming on board, the seats. Like we need to fill stadiums, and we are doing that now, but we need it all mass across, because then the brands will come on because they'll want their exposure. But I think we're getting there. That there's still, I mean, in my market, for instance, there is not plus size ski clothing.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Ridiculous, right? And I had someone message me on Instagram saying, I know you're passionate about this. I want to design it. Will you come on board? And I'm like, it embarrasses me. It embarrasses me that I wear the biggest size in all of these brands' ski clothing. Like, that's not right. Like, it's a gravity sport. Everyone loves it. It should be inclusive for everyone. So why don't we have plus-size brands making ski jackets and ski trousers? And that's at the very basic level. But I think brands are getting it now. It used to be when I was growing up, if I sponsor this football team, this male football team, we'll take on the women. But now some people go, we only want the women, because women's narrative through sport is very different. Like, if you look at our lionesses, they are all incredibly eloquent, inspirational figures. I'm not saying that the men aren't, but the men have egos because they are incredibly highly paid, very, very competitive. Whereas the women, they're just authentic. They're much more relatable to filter down into the ripple effect of getting more girls into sport. So I think brands realise that, and some brands are doing massive U-turns with campaign and just looking for women, which is great. I mean, it should have happened a long time ago, but I do think we have a bigger space to fill than we're doing.
What's next for Chemmy then?
I am so content with the lane I am in life.
Yeah.
And I'm very lucky that I get this TV every winter doing Ski Sunday, and then sometimes the Olympics, and then people bombard me with, oh, you should be doing this and this and this, and I'm like, yeah, I could be, but I also want to be a mum. I also want to support the brands that are making change in my industry. I also want to work with charity, and I feel like my aim is to keep pushing my lane. I don't need to jump ship and steal someone else's lane, because I think to get people into sport, you need experts. And I am an expert in my lane. And I just want to keep pushing the boundaries of what a female has done in my lane in the UK. And that's good enough for me. You know, being able to say yes with confidence that I can do the best job deliverable in each of the areas that I choose to work in is empowering, and that's success.
How do you kind of assess those opportunities? So when you get kind of all these requests, how do you kind of prioritise? Well, do you stick to your values?
Yes. Are they morally aligned with who I am? I'm very fortunate to be able to say yes to that. I know a few, and at Chemmy in the past, I almost signed with McDonald's as an athlete. They offered me a huge amount of money, and I was in a position where I didn't have a lot of finances backing me. It was when I was injured, and I said no, because I was like, this isn't what I want to put out to the world. And I think that really gave me inspiration that when I was in a comfortable position, I could survive to keep that alignment. Because as soon as you drop off the radar with that, or as soon as you make one wrong decision, people can see you as a sellout, and people see that. And I just want to big up other women. I was never a women's girl growing up. I was such a tomboy, and now I think I've completely gone the other way. Like, I love being around women. I mean, maybe it's also because I've got so much men in the household, you know, my husband and my 2 boys. But now I love the chat, the empathy, the encouragement that we all give each other when you take the barriers down. When you go, okay, you're successful. That doesn't mean I should be jealous of you. That means I want to rub myself up against you and get a bit of that magic. Sprinkle it.
I think, you know, when you were talking about your mum earlier and that she's done a women's liberation, I think is a degree that she's done, that really... and I think that's really rubbed off on you, and you come across as really authentic, and you're not there to compete with anyone, right? You're there to be yourself and support other people, and I think that's really refreshing.
Yeah, find yourself and back yourself. I think I have a huge amount of confidence that a lot of women don't have, and I would love to be able to impart that, but it comes from within. It comes from where you've come from, what you've done, what you choose to deem as a success. Like, I could sit here going, oh gosh, I'm here. You talked about the Olympics. I didn't win the Olympics. I'm an imposter, but I'm not. You know, I'm here because of that.
Yeah. And there's not one version of success, right? No. It's how you see it, right? And what would you say to your younger self then, Chemmy? Like, is there anything that you would change when you look back on your journey?
No, I think everything happens for a reason. I think redefining adversity when I was younger was big for me. I changed it into another disastrous venture, ends really surprisingly in triumph, using the letters. And yes, you will have hurdles, and those hurdles and overcoming them will show you how great you can be. Because I think innately, when I was younger, I was a perfectionist, and that's probably my worst trait that I have to work on a lot.
Okay.
Because perfectionism is incredibly limiting, and it's a parody. It doesn't exist. And when someone says, oh, I want to be perfect, it really gets to me, because I'm like, oh, I used to want to be perfect. I used to want to control the world and not make mistakes. And actually, we need to move away from that. So that's the one thing in myself that I would go back and change earlier on in life, because I thought being perfect was good. I thought that's what the world wanted from me. But actually, it was limiting my potential.
How did you evolve that over time then? So you obviously recognised it. How did you work through it?
I think it's very tied into the 80-20%. Because when I went 100% and failed, I realised that I was still learning more from that. So actually, I didn't want to be perfect. I wanted to push myself to where I could get out and push my ceiling. And when you push through the ceiling, you know, sometimes the ceiling shifts and sometimes you smash through and it breaks and you've got to build it again. So they were very connected.
Well, it's been a brilliant conversation. Thank you.
Have we time out already?
No.
Well, I just think it's been incredible to have you.
No.
Yeah.
I didn't get to ask you guys anything.
Do you want to? We've got a couple of minutes for us.
Obviously, you guys you mentor.
I was Sophie's mentor.
Yeah.
And we met as part of a Be Inspired campaign, which was all around women next leadership position, board level position. So I was was Sophie's mentor to help her progress, really.
But how does that evolve now that you're together all the time?
Yeah.
Like, obviously that dynamic has shifted now, because now you're very, not that you weren't equals before, but you were leaning in for advice, and now...
Well, that was like 8 years ago.
That was a long time ago.
So
and
it was probably a couple of years where you were definitely kind of mentor and I was the mentee.
Yeah.
And I think then over time, I think we then sort of just helped each other like grow and shape on different things.
Yeah.
And then we decided to start a podcast.
Yeah.
It's been incredible.
Do you know what? We actually were supposed to create some sort of circle of people, like a network in London, and to share conversations, because we continued to have these conversations well after the mentoring relationship ended. And then COVID hit.
Yeah.
And so we were like, okay, well, how do we do this? Right. So we were like, okay, well, let's do a podcast, you know, record it from home. We literally recorded it from home, did all the editing and everything ourselves. Didn't have any help whatsoever.
COVID was a horrendous time, but it did allow us opportunity to change what we chose to speak about and to open everything up and talk about all of that. So, so this has come out of that.
This has come out of that, And it's amazing because we're in 14 countries now. What was a podcast for family and friends has gone global. So
still growing.
And it's still growing. And here we are now doing video podcasts for the first time.
Having to change your outfits accordingly.
Yeah, no, exactly.
More pressure.
I know, exactly. Yeah. So, now we're thinking about outfits and looks and, you know, and all sorts of things.
I think at its core, what we genuinely love is we love having conversations like this because we get so much from it, and then we just hope that other people listening get from it as well. So that, you talked about your passion. I think that's our passion that shines through constantly, and that's what keeps us driving and growing. And the fact that others gain from it is, well, for us, it's really rewarding, isn't it? That others learn from
especially because that wasn't your goal.
No. And I think, you know, going back to values, and you talked about kind of anchoring yourself in kind of your purpose and your values. I think Sophie and I share a lot of values. We've both kind of we've sat on charity boards. You know, there's definitely a piece about giving back, which is why I asked you about your charity work, because at the end of the day, that's what we're here for, right? We're here to help each other.
If you don't have that, you can feel quite empty.
Yeah.
Especially if you feel like you're lucky and you're privileged, you have to give back.
Yeah, no, exactly.
It's so important.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Thank you so much. This has been incredible.
Thank you.
Really appreciate all your time and sharing knowledge. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for being on our podcast. It's been brilliant.